City Council is hereby called to order. Please rise for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, is the body we congregate in these council chambers. We pray for thy divine guidance, that we may do all things well, according to thy holy will. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden. Here. Mr. Clark. Here. Mr. Whittington. Here. Ms. Allen.
Here.
Mr. Thornbury. Here. Mr. Sanker. Here. Mr. Mumper.
Here.
All members are present. Is there a desire to amend the agenda, or shall we proceed as... We will proceed. We have no public hearings, we have no minutes, no request to address council, nor committee reports. So we will move on to introductory reading of ordinances. The first is an ordinance approving the preliminary plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving and the final plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving, covered by the Planned Unit Development Overlay Zone over the vicinity of 4817 Section Avenue in the southwest corner of Section Avenue in Norwood Lateral, and declaring an emergency. It's your pleasure. Mr. Sanker.
Madam President, I recommend that we would have all three readings by caption only, please.
Second by Ms. Allen. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sanker.
Madam President, I believe at the last council meeting we had the public hearing which followed up on the recommendations of the Planning Commission as far as recommending that this project for Ray Hamilton be approved. And so this is a follow-up ordinance to approve that and move forward with that. This has been a project that has been ongoing for the last few years, to say the least. So I would like to see that we move forward with this as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Sanker. Any other comments? The motion on the floor is to suspend the rules. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Whittington.
Yes.
Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Thornbury.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all three readings.
Ordinance approving the preliminary plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving and the final plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving, covered by the Planned Unit Development Overlay Zone over the vicinity of 4817 Section Avenue in the southwest corner of Section Avenue in the Norwood Lateral, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance approving the preliminary plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving and the final plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving, covered by the Planned Unit Development Overlay Zone over the vicinity of 4817 Section Avenue in the southwest corner of Section Avenue and the Norwood Lateral, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance approving the preliminary plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving and the final plan for the project known as Ray Hamilton Moving, covered by the Planned Unit Development Overlay Zone over the vicinity of 4817 Section Avenue in the southwest corner of Section Avenue and the Norwood Lateral, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Thornbury.
Yes, Madam President, I move that the ordinance be passed.
Seconded by Mr. Whittington. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Whittington.
Yes.
Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Thornbury.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is an ordinance accepting the donation of 2511 Highland Avenue from Norwood Dreams LLC and authorizing the Safety Service Director to execute any agreements to carry out the donation. Mr. Mumper.
I'd like to ask the mayor about this. I'm totally confused as to what this is for and what's going on here.
Mr. Mayor, can you help us out?
I'd have to see the ordinance. 2 years I haven't got an agenda, so I didn't get one. At this time, I wouldn't pass this. I don't want to see this passed. You're going to accept this, and I understand there's a couple of reports on environmentally And I think before the city take this project on and take this property, you could be walking into a trap, and a very costly trap. So I think we have to look at what our insurance is going to be, what the upkeep of the building is going to be through the winter months, and look at the cost analysis of what it'll cost to own a vacant piece of property. If somebody gives you something, it doesn't mean that it's free. If somebody gives you a piece of property, it can cost you. So rather than to take a donated piece of property and have it cost this city funds that we don't have, I would suggest you either eliminate it, hold off, or take some time to review it.
Just to make the record clear, this is the Perry and Derrick building?
Yes.
And I am on some committee, Mr. Brown. We got a grant. Can you help us out? And I think this is one of the properties that we are still looking into. Mr. Brown?
The Perry and Derrick building, as you may know, was a brownfield site that we had EPA conduct cleanup 4 years ago?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 years ago. They currently have building orders, and in order to resolve those orders, they've offered to donate the property to the city. We have conducted, using the EPA grant, which the city was awarded in 2015, to conduct Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental studies. Those reports have been prepared. They have been prepared by our environmental engineer and are available for inspection. It's about a 3-acre site. There are several existing buildings on the property in various conditions. Before the property is accepted to the city, there should be some coordinated idea of how to use those property. There has been some discussion in the past of possibly industrial development, etc., but those are all preliminary. So at this point, there are no firm end users. It is just a extreme land bank that the city would hold the property, about 3 acres in the buildings, and then at a point in the future go out and try to market or sell or donate to an end user.
Ms. Allen?
Yes, Madam President, to the Law Director. You mentioned that the Phase 1 and Phase 2 are completed.
Correct.
And you know those are available. Can you give kind of a synopsis of the findings?
Phase 1 and Phase 2, in my reading and in discussing with our environmental engineers, that they identify no significant environmental issues. But as the mayor mentioned, there are other issues associated with taking on this large piece of property. There are the utility issues. There's currently no electric, no water. It's going to be a large, it's not a vacant piece of land. It is a land with multiple buildings spread out over 3 acres. So in terms of ensuring safety of our officers if they are asked to patrol it, to make sure that there's no vandalism. One of the reasons why we were able to identify this as a Superfund environmental site is because one of our officers was chasing a scrapper onto the property, and that's when he discovered the environmental hazards. There's also the issue of protecting it against fire, theft, weather. Do we add it to our policies, or do we just let it be as is? So there are a lot of issues associated with it. Built correctly, this could be a great opportunity, but again, as the mayor stressed, maybe a little time to allow to process the information in the Phase 1 environmental reports and the Phase 2 reports, and to also come up with a plan to dispose of it may be needed before council takes the action of accepting the land.
Mr. Whittington?
Madam President, since we don't have a cover sheet with this, who initiated this ordinance?
This was initiated by the law department on behalf of the owner. They've been trying to get out from these building orders. We said after we got the Phase 2 report and it came back clean, we were then comfortable enough to at least present this to council for their consideration.
Mr. Mumford?
Does the mayor have any more insight into this property?
Mr. Mayor?
Sure. The law director and I worked very close on many issues, and this one being, we have another large parcel of property that the fire department has issued orders on a sprinkler system, and because we don't want to incentivize to let somebody sit something vacant. And the guy right now is complaining about the cost to maintain that sprinkler system. And he's spending about $350,000 a year to maintain another larger piece of property. The same thing here. If we say, okay, the city owns this, but we're not going to do anything about a sprinkler system for you, but we're going to do something for somebody else. we're going to have a problem, I'm telling you. And so I think it takes some time to look into it. It's not going to go anywhere. If it was going to be sold, it had been sold a long time ago. I just want to caution everybody, I cannot or will assign an ordinance that I believe could put us in jeopardy if we get baited into a trap of saying it's free. If it's free, it must be good. Sometimes free is not good, and sometimes there's hidden costs. My concern down the road is we could very well, possibly, be walking into some hidden costs. That's the only thing I say. Thank you.
Mr. Mumford.
I'd like to make a motion to remove this from the agenda to a time indefinite.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Allen. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sanker.
Another question for the law director. Chris, is there any, has there been any discussion on behalf of the owner of the property about them taking down the buildings that are there? We would assume this property as is?
Sorry, Mr. Go ahead.
I believe at this point, in speaking with the owners and the owner's representation, they don't want to spend any money with respect to that property, and demolition would cost money. It is a sizable piece of property, and I would suspect that given the construction and what was going on at the facility, that there would be environmental concerns that would escalate the cost of demolition. So I don't think they would entertain tearing it down and then donating the vacant lot. The property is more valuable as a vacant lot to some respects, though there is, again, there's opportunity in those buildings, but I think caution and using time to formulate a plan, to talk over things, would make that the best project instead of a knee-jerk, let's go ahead and do it.
Follow up?
Yes, Mr. Sanker.
So, then the orders that are on the building, would they be postponed or be enforced, or what what negotiations will we have with them as far as the orders that are pending on the property?
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
The owner is actually in front of Mayor's Court. He has already been cited for those orders. They are seeking to not have a conviction and the possibility of spending time in Hamilton. This is a sort of a concession on their part to try to avoid conviction for a misdemeanor in the first degree. So we have leverage, and we can still keep that leverage. The only way that we would lose that leverage is if they plead or if they go to trial and are successful.
Any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to remove the ordinance and to remove it to a time indefinite. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornbury?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumford?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We have no introductory readings of resolutions nor administration reports. I have not received any other requests to address council. Is there any unfinished business? Any unfinished business? Any new business? Mr. Clark.
If you guys will recall, Lori Leonard from our Realtors with Heart committee where I work was here giving a presentation. This year we were able to raise funds to donate 2 AEDs into the community. We look for a nonprofit organization, and the committee has chosen to target Norwood. So we are looking for nonprofit organizations. It can be a church. The only stipulation we're looking for is that the organization will be willing to register this AED so that it could be used for public access. So we're looking for an organization that's open almost every day of the week and not Monday through Friday. So if you have a church or a nonprofit organization, please contact me. The clerk has all my information, so contact me. We're looking for at least 2, potentially 3 locations where we could donate these AEDs.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any other new business? Mr. Sanker.
Yes, Madam President, just a reminder that coming up December the 5th here in Norwood will be Norwood's Christmas Town. It's been a very successful event within the city that the Norwood Professional Business Women's Association puts on with carriage rides, flea markets, baked goods. So December the 5th on that Saturday, so keep the date open right down here on the side of City Hall. So, thank you.
Once you mentioned that, the mayor and I have had a discussion, and I've had a brief discussion with the Christmas Town Committee. We have yet to open the time capsule, and because things just kept getting pushed off, and we suggested that perhaps we could do it that day, and Businesswomen is very receptive to that. I think it would benefit both organizations. It would draw people in to see what's in the time capsule and perhaps have more people to participate in Christmas Town, but also having a captive audience, if you will, that we could open that up. So
Yeah, it was me. It was either that or wait and make it 200 years, but I didn't figure Sanger would be here, so we decided to go ahead and do it now.
So we don't have any, we didn't want to interfere, the mayor and I had a discussion, we didn't want to interfere with activities that are going, we don't want to do it when Santa Claus is on the schedule or whatever, so we're still working out all the time frames and where it would happen, whether it would be in here, probably easier to do in here as opposed to outside. But just kind of make a notation of that as well, so we hope that that will take place at the same time. Yes, Mr. Mumford?
Just a comment on that. There could be a Christmas present in that.
Could be.
Yeah.
2 front teeth. Perhaps. All right. Any other new business? All right. We have one communication. The first is a letter from the mayor regarding Mayor's Court fines.
Ms. Donna M. Lake, President, and members of Norwood City Council, Norwood City Hall. R.E. Mayor's Court Fines. Dear Madam President and members of Council, enclosed please find the report for Norwood Mayor's Court for the month of November 2015. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Thomas F. Williams, Mayor, City of Norwood.
Mr. Clark.
Move that the report be received and filed.
Seconded by Mr. Braden. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornbury? Yes. Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumford?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We have no absent members. Mr. Thornbury.
Yes, Madam President, I move we adjourn.
Seconded by Mr. Mumford. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornbury?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumford?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned.